You can see the market has started to pull back off of yesterday's pump, so a quick pump up and a quick retrace, but the Bitcoin bulls will be looking to push price up today into that $32,000 to $33,000 region. Otherwise, in the time being, it still is pressure to the downside. We're going to cover a whole bunch of levels, but there's still altcoins which are right in their buy zones and looking half decent for potential upside over the coming days. I'm going to outline 3 particular coins that I'm looking at. So without further ado, let's get started on today's show. And I wanted to actually start off with the Bitcoin fear and greed chart over here. So if you have a look, the Bitcoin fear and greed indicators for the first time starting to move towards that 80 level. We haven't seen that since February. And each time that we got into that zone, I've marked it off with vertical lines. What happened after that? So let's have a quick look at that. Starting off from pretty much near the all-time highs, you can see the fear and greed pushed up into this zone over here. And we set in the major top at 69K. The last time that it reached this height over here, started to come down, that was the relief rally to 48K. And then you have another one which came in March. I could probably move this up a little bit ever so slightly. So we kind of in those same levels again. That was when Bitcoin was at 47,000. And then you can have a look over here. Bitcoin price was at 24,000 and then proceeded to obviously go down. And then this one over here, a little bit of an outlier because we're already pretty much at the lows. This one was reading at 16,896. And then you have your price point at 23,000, and then currently we're coming into that zone again. So we are starting to get to those similar levels which line up with what we're seeing on the price chart as resistance zones between $30,000 and $33,000. I'm going to go over those levels again because this was part of a long-term plan that we had, which we outlined. We said we're looking to come into that liquidity zone, the prior breakdown level that led to the major breakdown from the FTX collapse. So if you have a look over here, the Gaussian channel on the weekly chart, Bitcoin's fast approaching that zone. Again, that number keeps lining up, is 31,500. Now, when you look at this zone over here, you wouldn't expect that price is going to break through on the very, very first attempt to the upside. So if price does expand into this over the coming day or days, that's probably a potential profit-taking zone. And the same is true on Ethereum. Ethereum's one's a little bit higher up, coming in at $2,337. And here you have the Bitcoin chart. So we're expecting some sort of a range to form. The range would look something like this. Obviously, price just oscillating between what could be the range low, $25,000, and the range high somewhere around that $32,000-ish zone. So we're waiting for a local top to be confirmed. We haven't yet seen that, but it is looking like we're getting close. Once we have that local top confirmed, we're going to have a whole bunch of new trading opportunities that are going to line up, because then we can clearly define the new ranges that price are confined to, and it's pretty easy from there onwards, right? You just short the range highs and you long the range lows, and you take profit in between around that mid-range level. So that's the expectation. There is going to be a lot of support over here, so I feel increasingly confident that that $25,000 region will be back tested as major support at some point in the future. Maybe it's only going to happen in May, and that would be a strong range low scenario because of all the different moving averages over here. So if you see price move up on Bitcoin over the coming days and you'd eventually get into that $32,000 region, you can imagine if price does slow off in a slow and controlled manner, then you're going to move down into that range low, and that most likely happens over May. Remember, sell in May and go away still, although a meme, it is potentially something real that we need to look at. Okay, Bitcoin on the 4-day chart over here, the long-term, medium-term, and short-term moving average. Currently, all of them are still postured towards the upside, but at the moment, you have a bit of an indecision candle, which is just printed over here. And once those indecision candles print near the high, so if it's at a major high or a major low, it's something that you should take seriously, because maybe the market is going to start to top off in this region. But according to the moving averages, if price can reclaim back above here and close above the short one, then you still do have momentum towards the upside. This becomes a strong trending move. If not, and price pulls back, you're looking at the moving averages and this 28K as your first potential bounce zone. Okay, S&P 500 failed to break out of the range high yesterday. Not to say that it can't still do that. Today could be another opportunity, but there has been big tech earnings reports which have come out. I know that if you look at, and I can quickly bring it up over here, if you look at Netflix, Netflix had a major sell off over there, and then consequently a massive bounce up, which was absolutely crazy. First, minus 13% to the downside. I know in crypto, this is normal for us, but when it comes to stocks, it's not normal to see a stock go minus 13% and then immediately bounce up another 16% 30 minutes later after that. So pretty interesting over there, and therefore you would expect that maybe this will have some sort of effect on the stock market over here, and maybe the stock market does come back into the range, reset, and then try one more attempt to the upside. Keep in mind, remember, this is now the 7th or 8th time that it's attempting to break that range high. The more times you knock onto that resistance, the more likely it is that you're going to break through, right? Think of it like walking on thin ice or jumping on thin ice. If you keep hitting on the same spot, eventually it's going to crack through and you're going to break through that level. So that's what we're looking at over there. The scenario that could potentially play out on the Bitcoin dominance. So this is for all the altcoin fans out there. You probably want to listen to this. You can see that we're having a bounce or strong reaction on the Bitcoin dominance off of that 46.95 level, which is over here. So horizontal resistance bounces up. But I'm looking to see now what happens on this push up. Obviously, altcoins are suffering against Bitcoin whilst this Bitcoin dominance moves up. Once it gets to this region over here, around that 48%, I'll be looking for a lower high. And if you look at that, can you see the pattern that could be forming? You could have a potential head and shoulders pattern over here. Once you break below that neckline, then that's where the real fun starts to begin for altcoins. But until that happens, we need to still be patient and wait, because I outlined to you guys when this was happening. I said, don't chase the altcoins, wait, because at some point it's going to set in a lower low. If you get the confirmed lower low over here, then you're going to wait for the lower high. And now we're kind of going through that phase where is this potentially going to be a lower high? On the other end of the spectrum, right? This is not a convincing lower low yet. Yes, these candles are marginally lower than what you have on the left-hand side, but it's not convincing enough for me yet, which means that there is still a potential that Bitcoin dominance could actually reclaim that range high. I'm not saying that scenario is necessarily going to happen, but you always, as a trader, you want to plan for anything. If that does happen, that's going to be incredibly bearish for the altcoins, and this would be a major trap for anybody who's established long-term Bitcoin positions. You would expect that this is going to continue up massively, and altcoins are going to get absolutely smashed. So everything in trading is a if this scenario, then that. So if this happens, what are you going to do? You have a plan, right? If this happens and it goes up here, what are you going to do? You have a plan for that as well. So what should the plan ultimately be? Well, for short-term trades, I think it's fine to take altcoin trades on the short term, but for establishing long swing positions on spot trades, probably not worth it right now. The best bet is probably to be holding cash or Bitcoin whilst this is going up. And then when you get to this region around that 48% level on the Bitcoin dominance, then you start to make your decision. Okay, do I want to start scaling into altcoins over here? But scaling into altcoins at the bottom here for long-term holds is just probably not worth it, in my opinion. Okay, so tying that in with the total market cap. All right, this is where the altcoin party begins. If you can start to see the altcoin market cap or total 3 get into this zone around that 489 to 500 billion region, that's where you really start to see price take off. So at the moment, we've had the positive signs in the sense that we broke the long-term diagonal. We broke above this orange line, which was the prior range high. I've now gone and thrown in the next major line. So this was also the major consolidation following the breakdown, which established the range. And therefore, I'm looking to clear this level. For full confidence in altcoins, I want to see this level cleared. And basically, once price gets up here, if at least total 3 can get up here and start to consolidate within this box over here, then you would expect that it's probably going to take off, right? You have a big inefficiency, the inefficiency to the downside, this area over here, which you'll be looking to fill some of that. That gets altcoins really partying and a whole lot of fun. Then you can start to talk about a potential altcoin season. But for now, it's all short-term trades. As you will know, on yesterday's show, I did mention, obviously, the altcoin trades that I took. And then I update you on Twitter. So make sure that you follow me on Twitter if you're not already. Where is it? Let's quickly look. Here we go. I said, a good day at the office. I closed out. We can go higher, but I'll play it again tomorrow for those of you who missed out. That's why I try to do a show every day. Try to find new opportunities because some of you don't always take the trades on the day. You miss out. Maybe you're in a different time zone, right? So you're watching the show a whole lot later. So I took pretty much all of these, Bitcoin, BNB, Doge, GMX, and then I had 2 more, Arweave and Ethereum. I took all those trades. I was very happy with my profits, closed those positions out, and now, again, back in cash, looking to find the next one. Okay, a lot of alpha on here as well. There's a big head and shoulders pattern on STX, so I'll cover that on today's show in a few moments time, in a few charts time. Okay, Super Guppy indicator. Let's just have a look at a couple of these over here. So Super Guppy on Bitcoin is still green, and also very, very noteworthy is yesterday you had a bullish engulfing candle. So the green one on the daily close, bullish engulfing, fully engulfed this candle, closed above. Technically speaking, that suggests that you'd be looking for continuation up. On the low time frames, I'm going to give you those levels where you could potentially time an entry should that continuation take place. We're looking at that one more push to 32K. I've really stuck strong with what I've said. 32 to 33K has been a target of mine for many, many months now. And that's all based off of the order block, which comes to the left-hand side of price on the daily chart, which comes over here. Let me quickly just show you. I will give you another chart to outline that. This order block, which led to the breakdown, basically I'm looking to target towards the top side of that order block, which is why I have that target in mind. So Ethereum, what about Ethereum? How does it Super Guppy look? Also pretty extended over here, but nevertheless it is still green. What does that mean? That's suggestive that any major pullbacks, which will come, there will be a time where you see major sell-offs in the region of 10 to 15 to even 20% for something like Ethereum. Technically speaking, those are just going to be opportunities to reload. If you are trading this is a trend trading strategy using the Super Guppy. Remember, it's a conglomerate of different exponential moving averages all combined together. Okay, before we move on, let's quickly check the chat, see if you guys are present. Please make sure as well, take 1 second to smash the like button. I can see the like buttons live on my screen in front of me. Let's see if you can push that at least to 500-600. I don't know why it wouldn't go to 1,500 since there is 1,500 of you live, but haters gonna hate and potatoes gonna potate. So what can you do? We'll stick with 500 is good enough. Okay, I see Alex. We got Alex Banter, we got Roy Big Slapper in the house with a big hand. Why did you call yourself Big Slapper, sir? Vance, Luke, Karma, Bella. We got Mitch. We got the Big Chief. We got Crypto, Boy, Troy, AB, Good News, Rahim. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Smash the like buttons. Okay, we got to 535. Maybe I was a little bit pessimistic there. Let's see if we can go to 1,000 likes before the end of the live show. All right, let's move on over here. Bitcoin with the pivot level, the daily pivot level is at $30,478. So what does that suggest? If you can start to see Bitcoin price climb above 30,478, momentum immediately starts to shift again back towards the upside. Bulls take back control, and then you can start to look for higher prices. Otherwise, you're going through a corrective phase right now. Anything under that is suggestive of consolidation and potentially a little bit of downward price action going through that consolidated phase. But for the time being, it's looking pretty good in the sense that you are holding your moving averages. I have the blue one here, which is the 9, and then the white one is the 34 EMA. So 9 EMA, 34 EMA. The 9 you expect, if it backtests into this right now, live while we're on the show, that could be a potential bounce area, 29,909. You kind of want to see that level hold. Okay. Otherwise, you lose that level. This is the next area of interest for me personally, coming in at 29,365. So somewhere within this zone, I am looking for a potential bounce, and then we'll see what happens if this gets left on the daily chart, if this gets left behind as a wick. So this price starts to push up over here and you get left with a big wick following a bullish engulfing candle. That would be suggestive that more than likely we're going to have continuation all the way up to $32,000 on Bitcoin. So how far away is that? Percentage wise, that's a 6.56% move. Pretty big move over there. It still is a pretty big move, but until you cross above that, still remember, I have to emphasize pressure then is still to the downside, right? Okay, here's our order block. Remember, that's the order block level. I've had this gray box for a long time. Let's quickly move it up over here. So that is the expectation, right? So let's quickly draw it out. This is kind of what I'm looking for as a potential play. Price to bounce from somewhere around here, maybe consolidate a bit longer, push up from around here, and it has to happen pretty soon into this zone around that 32,500, and then I'm looking for it to potentially deviate back into the range. Why am I looking for it to deviate back into the range? Well, firstly, this is a very, very strong area of resistance, which we've now pushed into. I outlined months ago that if you start to see price pushing above that 30K mark, then that's a psychologically challenging and a strong level for investors, right? Because they say, well, 30K, above 30K, bullish, bull market's back, below 30K, bear market, because you're in the 20s, right? So as soon as you see that 30 number, retail starts to come back into the market. And this is often where you expect those traps and those deviations to take place from this region. So based on the order block that's taken place over here, you can obviously divide this as well into different ranges. This being your range high, your range low, and your mid-range. As you can see, we're currently hovering right around where that mid-range level would be, in between that order block. So looking for that to potentially hold the support, push up, deviate, come back in. So an over-under scenario. Once you have that over-under, you don't start to short until you get the over-under. This might be the earliest time that I would potentially consider taking a short trade. I haven't, other than very, very small scalps, I haven't taken a swing short for this entire move up because momentum is against you. But when price starts to extend and you do an over-under, stop goes above, and then you can look for the lower high, and then you have a short opportunity down into this region around that 27. Maybe this parabolic trend line doesn't hold and you end up going all the way back down to the 25K zone. So that's a potential scenario. This would be pretty healthy as well. By the way, I do think that it would be good for price action to come down towards this level, just from a technical standpoint and how the price chart would look if you get into this zone again in the future, maybe sometime in May as a back test. People can reload and new market participants come in feeling like they haven't missed the whole rally, and then they get a chance to reload. That builds some better momentum towards the upside for the future price action. Okay. So that's Bitcoin over there. Let's see, is there anything of interest on Ethereum? Same thing, Ethereum. If Ethereum backtests into this $2,000 region, that should technically act as support. But similar to Bitcoin, if you see the over-under scenario, so over that support, under the support, well, then that starts to become a short. Then you say that's a failed rally, and you're looking for that to come down, right? All the way down to about that 1680 to 1700 region. Okay. Next, this one is printing a picture perfect head and shoulders pattern over here. And this is STX. I don't even know what STX is. I think it's stacks. Is it stacks, Josh? Do you know? He doesn't know. He's just putting his thumbs up. I guess that means yes. He doesn't have a voice in the studio lately. Unless he doesn't want to be doxxed or something. I don't know. But anyway, okay, there we have it. Here's your angle. It's currently sitting at 19 degrees. That is going to be your neckline, and it's pretty picture perfect, right? So if you zoom out on stacks, this is a resistance zone. You can see the horizontal resistance that's coming in over here. And then you had a big move up. You rejected from that resistance, came down. You set in the next higher low. Let's just make that bigger for you. Set in your next higher low. Pushed up, broke through the resistance, did the under over. Look at all the selling pressure that came in over there. Sellers on the daily chart, sellers, and pushed it back under, right? Came back into this diagonal support, tried one more time, hit the right shoulder over there, rejected, and now you have a right shoulder that's forming and starting to break down the neckline. So how do you enter this trade? Well, I would say for the sake of being conservative, if you were looking to short this, the best way to do it would be something like this. I'm not necessarily taking this trade. I'm just helping you guys to find trade opportunities. So I'd look at something like this. There we go. Zoom in on the daily, because this could technically still act as support, right? And then if this right shoulder drags out, then it's going to be a failed head and shoulders pattern. And bear in mind, a lot of these patterns don't work out in trading. Trading patterns, they help you to identify what could potentially take place, but they don't always work out. So it shouldn't be, I wouldn't encourage you to be a pattern trader. If you have like your edge in pattern trading, you're probably not going to do as well in the long run. Rather focus on things like horizontal supports and resistances, as well as different moving averages. So look at that. You can see that would be a little horizontal area which could potentially hold. So where would the trade activate? According to the head and shoulders theory, you would already be in the short trade because you've started to break down the neckline. But I'm a little bit more careful and conservative. What I would look for rather is I would look for this to continue, and for a daily close under here, maybe a small push back up, reject this as underside resistance. Then I would enter my short trade, and then you're looking for lower prices and for the breakdown. Also, the measured move off of these patterns are pretty damn aggressive, because what you would be doing is you would take from the head, from the top of the head down to the neckline, and then you move that down, and that ultimately results in an enormous downside move to 13 cents, which is huge, right? And the probability of that playing out all the way, I would also say, is not very likely. So take what the market gives you. All right, next, Solana. Solana is currently pulling back. I told you guys as well, don't chase Solana. It's coming into resistance over here. You can see the strong underside resistance. You broke down the diagonal, which is great, right? We broke down that diagonal. That's a good sign. First important step that we want to see with the trade. And now you're waiting for the pullback. So any pullback that comes into this zone over here, if you take your fib from the bottom to the top of this move, your golden ratio between the 786 and the 618 comes in around this region. This also happens to be what was a previous support and resistance level. So if Solana comes into that 2253 level, this could be a potential zone. We need to then zoom in once it gets here. So if it gets here, let your alerts go off. Then you zoom in, you go on a low time frame, 4 hour, 1 hour, and you start to look for a trigger plan. Is there some sort of a swing failure pattern to the downside? Reclaim this level, and that's a long opportunity, right? Then you go long, first target into here, break and hold above that, and then you have much, much higher targets, because then you're clearing the main resistance that's been there for a long period of time. So keep that in mind. That is the setup or idea that I'm following, at least for Solana. Let's see, Litecoin. Litecoin's halving is coming up in August, and therefore these things often catch a bid. So this move has been quite extended. Again, you need to see, I mentioned this one, I think yesterday, first see if it can hold above here. If it can hold above here, pretty easy, right? You just need to set your stop underneath that region down there, which is coming in at those lows at about 88, because not only will you be losing the mid-range, you'll also be losing the diagonal trend line. Hold above that, and you could potentially push up to that 150 level. This would be a swing trade idea, because I'm on the daily chart, so you're dealing with big moves, right? You'd be entering somewhere around here, right? 96, and your stop is going to be down at about 86. So it's a $10 move for each coin that you're holding, right? For each coin that you're holding, you would be losing $10 on that. But to the upside, you'd be gaining about $60 if the target is met. So that's that trade idea. Sandbox. All right. Here's what this one looks like. Sandbox, because some of these gaming and metaverse tokens have already started to rally and break out. I think 𝗟𝗏 was the main one. Oftentimes that starts a trend shift. So if you start to see Sandbox come back down towards this trend line, a retouch of this trend line, just take it from the lows to the next low. That would be your third touch. That's an opportunity to potentially get long with your stop below the prior low over there. And then once you break this long-term downtrend and you get back above there, you can start to move towards the mid-range and then potentially the range high. And then on the very high time frame, you can imagine that could potentially be one massive deviation or accumulation zone, right? So this could potentially have been a big accumulation zone if you see something like that. So price needs to get back above those levels. Anyway, next, AVAX. There's been quite a lot of hype around AVAX lately. The AVAX Ethereum chart looks very good, as well as the AVAX BTC chart. But as per the dollar value, or the dollar chart at least, it's coming directly into resistance. You can see the resistance here, right? So touch point, touch point over there, touch point, and now you're coming into that zone again. Let's say you push a little bit higher, then this is your next zone, right? So all of this is going to be resistance to this whole horizontal. But nevertheless, you can see that cup and handle formation, which is potentially forming over here. So at the moment, you have the rounded bottom. If you see it push up into this zone, followed by a big pullback, you could start to form the handle, and then you can draw a trend line from here to here and look to time your entry somewhere within this region around 17. So it's something to keep on your watch list is AVAX. Put AVAX on your watch list. Next, Chainlink. Let's look at Chainlink. Chainlink's also been in a long time accumulation phase, pretty much since the accumulation phase started in May. So it's almost 1 year of accumulating. It's not the first time I brought this up on the show. I did mention to you guys that the longer you have a consolidation or accumulation, when you leave that range, eventually when you leave that range, you'll have an even bigger breakout. Now, it's an interesting phenomenon that retail investors, or not even just retail, many investors really want to buy the bottom of coins. But I have to encourage you guys to wait for the break of this first, because what would have happened, right? You thought over here that it was going to break out. It didn't. It came all the way back down. You thought over here it's going to break out, so you bought. You thought over here it's going to break out, so you bought. What if it gets over here and you start to front run that idea to try and buy the breakout, but we go through another 6 months over here of this? It's not really worth it. It's better to just wait for a convincing break, wait for that to hold, and then you can still participate in that massive move. What happens is, if you buy something like this, although fundamentally it's supposed to be a great coin, and you buy something like this and it comes back into the range, your opportunity cost by tying up that capital in something that's going to go through a drawdown and you now suddenly become a long-term investor, it's not really worth it. It's not worth doing that. There's many great plays out there. Don't get too emotionally tied to a particular token. And I really say this with, you know, my hand on my chest when it comes to Chainlink, because I was one of those people in the last cycle. I was definitely, and I know there were many other people that did the same. I luckily made a lot of profit still, but not nearly as much as I could have if I didn't get emotionally attached to Chainlink. I probably did a 5x, and I probably could have done a 25x with that capital instead of putting it into Chainlink if I put in something else. But because it was Chainlink and Link is going to change the world, I got a 5x, not a 25x. So there you have it. That's Chainlink for you. Rune. Let's see Rune. Rune's not in a bad position over here. I have set an alert on this trend line over here. If it does come back down into the pink box over here at about 153 or touches that trend line at about 149, I'll be looking to establish a long position. And the reason why is very simple. You can see you've broken down this long-term downtrending trend line. You also have deviated above the range lows. So the range low, deviation, you have a higher low on the high time frame. So on a daily chart, right, this is your ultimate lows. You're now forming and confirming a higher low. This would be the perfect back test into that zone around that 148 to even 155 region. If you can establish some sort of a long spot position over there, that could be good. Next, okay, we got PEPE or PEPE. I don't know, what is it called? Let me know in the comments. Is it PEPE or PEPE? I thought I had a stellar tweet here, but clearly the audience didn't feel the same, because I only had 5,900 interactions over here versus 14.7. It was once a small PP, and now it's a big PP. I don't know. I thought it was a good one, but yeah, James doesn't. Let's have a look at this over here. This is PEPE. It's obviously been one of the most hyped coins at the moment. Here's the chart that you're looking at. It can be traded on Bitget, I see. Let's move on to the hourly chart over here. So look, guys, when it comes to trading something like this, I'll just say use your casino money. Can you even chart this? I don't even know if you can chart this. There's really very little to see over here. Maybe you can start to mark out ranges. So let's grab this over here, magnet. I just want to mark out the highs. And I don't even know if they have all the proper price history over here. But maybe I'd be marking it out something like this. Okay, let's just grab the fib tool, range tool. Okay, let's put that like this. All right. Now maybe we have something to work with. Okay, so you can see price came down. The yellow would be the mid-range. So rejection from the mid-range came up, broke above, hit the 75% level, so 0.75 of the way through the range, rejected off there, came back down. Now you're kind of range bound. I mean, I really don't know if you can actually trade this based on a chart when it's such a young coin, but potentially if you're looking to use some gambling money, $100, $50, whatever it is that you want, then maybe right over here is a potential area to get a entry, because if it starts to move back up towards the range high, obviously that's going to be a huge move, right? Look at what your drawdown would be. I just want to show you. So you're entering this over here, you come back down towards there, that's 10%. If you make it towards the upside, so let's say you establish your position right here where we are now, that's a 50% move if you get to the top. Not really something I'd encourage you to do with huge amounts of money, but gambling money, it could be worth it. You break above that range high, and then it probably goes back into new price discovery mode. My experience is these meme coins probably run for about 4 or 5 days, and then everyone gets rugged. So yeah, play that one with caution. Natural gas is running hard. Congratulations. Let me know actually in the comments, did you guys take the natural gas trade? I know we mostly dropped it in the Discord. By the way, in the Discord, there is a link to get to the Discord. It's in the description below, and I'll probably come and hang out with you guys there a little bit later today. So make sure you go through to the trades and analysis section of the Discord. Drop your charts that you want charted for the next show. Do that in the Discord over there, and then I'll come back to that at a later stage. But so far, this is a pretty stellar move, right? So average entry for me was within this yellow circle. That's already up 17.8%. So moving like a crypto coin would. But bear in mind that natural gas, when you're trading this on PrimeXBT, these are heavily leveraged trades that you have over there. You're talking about like 400, 500x leverage. So far, it is going fantastically well. If you are looking to enter into one of these trades, make sure to check out PrimeXBT. There is also a link in the description below. You get a $7,000 sign up bonus, but you have to type in Kyledoops in the promo code section. All right. Bitcoin. So as you can see, pulling back right now on the low time frames, it is capped. You can see price is capped with this trend line. Very simple trend line governing the lower highs. And then we were stuck within a range over here. So this is what we need to see. I mentioned to you guys before, based off of this this candle print that we had over here and a swing failure pattern, I established a long position. I told you yesterday, I'm looking to first see what happens based off of this massive move up. If we're going to set in a lower high, and I did tell you right around where we were over here, I outlined, I think, 30,240 to 30,340 as the potential rejection zone. Price got to 30,389, rejected off there, and now you're coming down. But you could be coming into support zone right now as we are doing the show. I'm looking at the 50 EMA, the red one, as a potential area of interest. Also, you can see the range that we have over here, right? So you had liquidity grab after liquidity grab with swing failure pattern, swing failed the highs of the range, swing failed on the lows of the range. So technically, you're treating this as a potential short-term range. What does that mean? Obviously, if price comes into that range over here, around 29,700 or the 50 EMA, 29,900, this is a potential buy the dip zone. Potential buy the dip zone over there. Again, zoom in. So I'm on the 4-hour chart. When price gets in here, what I always do is I go into a low time frame, maybe 15-minute chart, 5-minute chart even, and I watch very, very carefully how the pattern is forming within this zone where I anticipated that the dip was potentially going to form. So once it gets here, if I'm happy with what I'm seeing on the low time frame, I might take a trigger long position, and then looking for price to push up again over here. I'll be cautious in this zone. If it breaks through this, next zone to watch is the range high. And if that breaks out, then what happens over here? You have again not a picture perfect bull flag, but you do still technically have a bull flag. You have your pole, you have your flag consolidating, and you're looking for a break above that to complete the flag pattern, and that should take you to 33K. So let me know in the comments. I hope that helps. I'm trying to keep it very, very simple. Yes, we're pulling back right now, but watch for that support around that 29.7 region. Let's see, did I double check that again? Yes, 29.7. 29.7 is the potential buy the dip region. And then we want to see demand kick in over there. And then we start to break through the high levels. And then that's our last long opportunity. I think we wait for a deeper pullback over the next coming weeks. And then we can re-establish what to do next from there. So lastly, if you are looking to buy the dip on any of those coins that are outlined, consider using Bitget and their grid strategy. It's an easy way to do it. So for example, right now, I just outlined two potential zones between, let's say 29.7 and about 29.877. You can literally still trade your spot over here. You just type in the lowest price, so 29.7 and then 28.7 over here. Set the number of grids. That way, if price comes in very quickly, it still captures some of those trade opportunities. Select the amount that you want, and then you can create the order. You can do that for multiple different coins. Matic, you got Quantum, Stellar, Shiba, you got a whole bunch. Pretty much everything that you need is over here. All right, that's it from me. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well. Please follow me on Twitter if you're not already following me, because sometimes this is where I drop what I'm doing next. For example, yesterday when I said I closed the trades, if you were following me, you would have got everything over there. Natural gas trade, I think I also dropped that previously on Twitter. And that's it, guys. Smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, DogeCoin. I'll go to DogeCoin quickly. Where's DogeCoin over here? Okay, I know the meme coins could run, obviously, with 420 coming up. So I am on a low time frame over here. You got quite a steep, aggressive trend line that's forming, though. So remember, I mean, this is going to eventually, this is going to break down, but I'd kind of be looking at it like this. Anything, if you're trading it on the low time frame, I guess this is a potential entry right over here. I'll show you why. Let me just quickly make this bigger. Okay, you guys sneaked in one more there, little bonus play. First, let me show you the daily, okay, what you're looking at on the daily, right? Daily, you're holding above the mid-range over here. If Elon does something crazy like integrates DogeCoin as a payment system into Twitter tomorrow, because 420 is his favorite day, then you could potentially see this run all the way up to 11 cents. Okay, now you're looking at it on the 1 hour chart over here. You have to be very, very careful. This is kind of the way that I play it. So exactly like I showed you, I'll just be looking at this trend line over here, expecting that the mid-range is support, and you're looking at high low after high low. So all of these are holding so far. That's held, that's held, that's held, and now you're looking for this to potentially be your next zone. So if you were looking to establish a long position over here and you wanted a very tight stop, I'd put it underneath these wicks over here, which means that it's going to be at 0.09108 right over there. That would be my stop loss entry over here, because if you break that down, you're breaking down the trend line and you're taking out the lows, and then you can say, well, maybe it's going to distribute back down, and then it was a buy the rumor, sell the news. Sell the news could be coming a day early, which is today. That's the way that I play it, guys. So pretty much right on that candle is an opportunity. And that's it, guys. I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers for now.